Good morning, everyone. This is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and this is a Saturday morning mastermind. And I'm going to host this morning. Samantha's unable to be with us. She needs to be with her family for some things this morning. And if everybody can just send some love that way, nothing direct, as far as Samantha is involved, but just some family things that they really could use some love and support and prayers. So lots of that going out to them. And this morning we're going to cover the last chapter of our book, The Slight Edge by Joel Olstein. What's his name? Hold that up there. Olson. Olson, yeah, Jeff Olson. We read a book by somebody, Olstein, I thought. So anyway, this is the last chapter, and we are going to be moving on to our next book. Typically, we take a week in between books, and that gives everybody a chance to order the book and read the first chapter and that sort of thing. So we'll talk about all of that stuff, but first I want to let everybody introduce themselves. And so I'll go ahead and mute out. You guys can come out and introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Sandy Root here in sunny Miami Beach. And looking forward to the discussion, closing out the book.
Good morning, this is Karen Lohoff in the Phoenix area, which I call the Valley of the Sun. I'm in the East Valley of the Valley of the Sun. Got sun. I don't think it got colder than 50 last night. It's going to be 80 today. So when the desert's going 30 degrees between night and day, it does a number on people. I could use that as my excuse, but not really. But if I start going off on some kind of a crazy rant and nobody is at the controls and able to shut me off, the rest of you just stuff cotton in your ears. Get yourself some earbuds. Do whatever you can do. Alrighty.
And we also have Carmen with us. I'm not sure if she's able to unmute right now. But this has been, I'd like for everyone to think about, what'd you get from it, right? I mean, all in all, what did you get from it? There are definitely, it starts out by saying this is the shortest chapter of the book, and it's kind of just reiterating everything that we've just been through. It gives a really good book list at the end of the book, and I've actually copied that and saved it because, as you know, we vote, or maybe you don't know, we vote on our books. So like we've had a couple, 2 or 3 books up to vote on in our Mindset Mastery Collective Facebook group. And the book that we actually voted on is called, this is the one you'll want to pick up for the next time, which is going to be week after next. We'll take next week off, next Saturday off, and then we'll come back the following week, and we're going to be reading The Wisdom of Sundays by Oprah Winfrey. And before anybody gets put off by, I know some people, you either love Oprah or you hate Oprah, it seems like. But what this book is, my understanding of this book is that she had this like Super Soul Sunday something or interviews she was doing with leaders, spiritual leaders, business leaders, politically, all kind of leaders, and it's basically taking the wisdom learned from each one of those people. So it's, instead of reading a book that's like one person's viewpoint or, theirs and their mentors, because we all learn from somebody else. So wonder who started the original, so it's going to be getting wisdom from lots of different people. So it should be an interesting read. It's not a it's not a typical, you know, we've read all kinds of books. We've been doing this, what, over 4 years or something. So we've read lots of different books, and uh, I would say the majority of them were very business oriented, you know, self-development, business sort of oriented. And then we kind of took a bit of a spiritual turn. It actually caused some separation in our group. We're kind of trying to play that. We believe that you can have spirituality and business ethics. Like, you know, we're trying to, we definitely, we're never trying to isolate anyone, and we didn't mean to make a riff in the group or anything, and we aren't, you know, anti anything. As a matter of fact, we're very open-minded to whatever anybody wants to believe, and we want to hear about it and how it, you know, how you walk through this life, and deal with the daily things that we deal with in business and just in our regular lives. Because I think most of us here have found that we weren't doing so good on our own. Like, we had to seek out some guidance and get some tips from some other people to kind of make the road a little less rocky to walk. And of course, Byron Katie is one of my favorites. I go back to Byron Katie. She's like my fall to, and nothing else other than, of course, just my faith and how amazingly blessed I am and how divinely led I am. And I don't claim any, quote, religion. I just know that I'm divinely led. I don't even know who it is, but, you know, they seem to be knowing what's up, and it seems to be working out. So come on out and tell me, you know, what did you get from this book? Are you glad we read it? Do you think we could have skipped it? Is it going to make a difference in your life? One of the things he talks about in this last chapter is, you know, okay, you're at the end. Now pretty much two things can happen. You can close the book and say, wow, that was a great book. I'll remember some of that and put it on your bookshelf, and that's the end of it. Or you can start actually practicing the slight edge, and then they have these Facebook groups and different groups you can belong to if you want to kind of be in a group of people who are utilizing the slight edge and help support you in that. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'll just be honest. What are you guys going to do?
I don't think I'm going to do that.
You got to stay off mute. Because we see you laughing and we can't hear you. I know. I'm sorry. I was talking over you. I just wanted to hear you.
You want to hear my laugh? Okay, so when I laugh, I'll unmute, which is like all the time. So no, I'm not going to join that group either. But the book, I mean, for me, it was a lot of reminders. It's stuff that I feel like we maybe touched on in other books, and stuff that I, you know, follow in my daily life, like just advice from mentors and stuff that I watch online or receive emails from. So it just was good reminders for me. And, you know, I did have reminders of like, oh yeah, that thing I was doing, I should get back to doing that again. You know, like writing my gratitudes every day, I think was from this book. It reminded me to do that again, to do that as I was doing like first thing in the morning and before bed. So I've been doing that more frequently again. So it reminded me to stick to those positive things that I'm doing, and not let the, you know, those things come up of like, oh, I'm too tired, or forget it today, I'll get to it tomorrow. It reminded me, you know, that when I do the positive things for myself, that I do see the huge differences. And so overall, it just was a good reminder and got me to get back into some practices that I let fall off. So it was good overall.
Well, talking about the slight edge, when I have my grid, or maybe this is the speaker's view. I think it's the grid view. And so you've got your little mute thing at the top of your little square. but over the big square is down in the opposite diagonal corner. And so I'm always floating my damn cursor up and down trying to figure out where it is I have to unmute. So if it seems like somebody's stumbling around, it's probably me. This is actually the second time I've been in a mastermind group going through the Slide Edge. I've done it without the book, and so that's possibly the problem right there. But I think, to be really honest, I'm not particularly fond of Jeff Olson and the way that he writes and so forth, comports himself across the language barrier. But I certainly believe in the principle of the Slide Edge because, that was an illustration to me trying to unmute, and I do this every week. I'm always trying to find the damn unmute button. So, it is the little things. It's the deciding to put up with the little things. Many times in my day, it's just like, oh, the internet's slow again, and then you have to think, well, I can do this. I can do this. Sometimes, I've had one little puppy with me for the last 2 weeks while my son's been gone that we were kind of nursing back to health, or I guess I was here alone nursing her back to health. And she's been really quiet and really good. But when she decides to speak, she's very imperative. I mean, it's like, okay, you come when I holler, or it's going to be, lots of sharp little barks. And now I've got 5 larger puppies. My son came in last night. I've got 5 larger puppies outside the door. So if when I'm talking you hear little things, it's because they like to be in with us. But it is so delightful to have these puppies. And I think about, how much I love them and all that kind of thing, and how easily I get annoyed if I'm trying to do something and, they need attention, because I really have I really have adopted the understanding for myself that I'm not a very good multitasker. They say that scientifically none of us are, that we have to focus and so forth. But I think most of us, especially in this country, we kind of break our arm trying to pat ourselves on the back about all the tasks that we can do in 1 second. And so the Slide Edge kind of helps us to put a lot of different things in perspective. And it's been fun listening to our group to talk about it. Our group is the best as far as I have experienced, and I've experienced several different mastermind groups, but this group really is a liberal group. It's really sad to me that there are people who decide, well, I just can't be a part of you, I guess, if you're going to talk about this. And I'm glad you mentioned something about the Sundays, because I thought when you started out with whether people like Oprah or not, which I never think about because I really like Oprah, but Sundays can stick in my craw, because I was raised that on Sundays you go 3 hours to church, and then you can't go out to lunch. I mean, your family might trot off because they're gathered for an engagement, or you haven't seen each other for 5 years because you're all gathered from different parts of the country, and so you're going to sneak off to a restaurant for lunch. But somebody's going to be whispering. And when I was growing up and going to high school, the idea was, oh, well, if you're really true, you won't drink Coke, you won't do any of that. And I say BS to all that nonsense. So anyway, we're back to the Slide Edge and Jeff Olson, and glad to be here. Thanks.
I want to just stay home and take care of puppies. Actually, I've taken care of quite a few puppies in my life. I do miss puppy breath though, but I'm jealous of that aspect of your life there, Karen. It's funny. Even taking care of puppies, there's sort of a slight edge to it, right? Like there's certain activities you have to do every day, otherwise they pile up and you're walking in poop constantly. And things like that.
That's why I call them poopies. I don't call
Yeah,
them puppies. I call them poopies.
yeah, you'll
You
have to
know,
share pictures of some of your puppies in our group so that people, I mean, are you looking for homes for them? Maybe we can get some of them adopted for you.
we have a Weimaraner. Is that how you say it? A Weimaraner?
Weimaraner.
Weimaraner.
That's how
We
I
have
say it, Weimaraner. I don't know if
that's
that's
well, that's true. That I had the M and the R confused, but that's true. We have a couple of chow mixes. I forget what they're mixed with, and we have a couple of other cute little puppies that I forgot what they are. But these are bigger puppies than we usually do because we really like the Maltese mixes, and so they're really teensy weensy, kind of all along. And that's the one I've been nursing back to health as a teensy weensy. And that's not all I do. I was taking umbrage while you were saying, "Oh, I'd like to do." I'm kidding. I better explain, I guess. I'm bipolar. Not everybody believes that. I don't really believe that, except that it's been in my speech for about 30 years is the problem. But I've been using one of the basic tables, those chemistry table things. What is it? You memorize all those 100 elements. I've been taking lithium for 30 years, and now, unfortunately, one of the problems of lithium can be that it can start to attack well, it's not attacking anything, but it can affect your kidneys, it can affect your liver. And the last time I had a blood lab done, the person who prescribes for me said, we're kind of into that area. And so I said, well, the crap about that is that then I have to go to bed with Big Pharma, and I just absolutely can't even use the language that comes up when I think about Big Pharma. So I'm trying one of Big Pharma's drugs because I know that going insane is not welcomed in my family anymore. I mean, I've been insane for 30 years. That's bad enough when I'm medicated. So, but what happens is a lot of the medication, lithium, and it happens that this particular Big Pharma drug that I'm going over to, both of them are designed to keep bipolars from going manic. And if you can keep a bipolar from going manic, or at least some of us, we're all different, and there's 100 million different types now, I guess, of diagnoses for bipolars anyway. But for me, if you can keep me from going manic, I won't go clinically depressed, because I started out being diagnosed. No, that's nonsense. Anyway, so what you're hearing out of me with my rapid speech and my conflict of ideas and my skipping all over the place and talking about, puppies and Sundays and slide edge and, whatever, is hypomania. If not, well, I can tell you it's not full-blown mania. You've all probably experienced Robin Williams, and you've seen some pretty good mania with him, and I'm not nearly as skilled at it as that. But when I get fully manic, I managed to find money. I wish I could find money like that, when I'm not manic. That would be good. Except it's other people's money when I'm manic, so that's not good. So anyway, I'm getting off. Thanks.
Well, one of the things, my son also has been given that diagnosis. One thing I've noticed with him is that theories like this Slide Edge book and having a schedule and doing certain activities consistently every day, for him, exercise is just like super important. If he doesn't exercise daily, and I think it's probably that way with all of us. I mean, there's certain times in your life, certain illnesses that require rest, there's no doubt. But the rest of the time, our body is designed to be in movement. And without that movement, the lymph system gets stagnant. I mean, I could go off on that for hours, so I'll try to stick back to the Slide Edge. But what I'm saying is with him, I've noticed that he does very, much better with a very structured, almost like he did really well in the military when he was just being told exactly what to do, and he could just follow orders, and he didn't have to leave it up to his mind, because his mind was indecisive and all over the place and here or there or whatnot. So I think, learning about these principles of doing these basic, even if it's just getting your teeth brushed for the day. Like, I mean, I've had depression. I was in bed for 12 years. I know what depression is, right? Even if you can just get your teeth brushed for the day, sometimes that's the accomplishment, right? But if we can get used to not giving ourselves the out, holding ourselves accountable. Some people do really well with accountability partners. I don't like having if I wanted an accountability partner, I'd be married or something, right? Like I don't want, I'm sorry guys. Like I, I'm happily single. I get into these conversations and uh, with men, I'll just say that because I don't find it with women, so I have to say it that way. Sorry, it's the way it is. And it's almost like they expect this accountability. I mean, we're like just like friends on Facebook, and like they think I'm supposed to like check in and tell them all my shit, and it's like, no. If I wanted that, I'd be in a relationship, right? I don't want to be. I mean, I'm accountable to my family. I'm accountable to my work. I'm accountable to my team. Things like that. But I don't, I have no desire to be reporting all of my activities and what I'm going to do and ask permission and all that shit. So I find I have to hold myself accountable, though. Because if you don't have somebody else to keep you accountable, you have to do it yourself, right? You can't just, I mean, I'm not as hard on myself as I once was. I can be very much of a perfectionist, when I need to get back into my art, but when I was practicing my art, I mean, I can't tell you the number of pieces that got taken apart because one little thing I didn't like. So you can't beat yourself up. You can't be a perfectionist to the point where you're your own worst enemy, because a lot of us are our own worst enemy. I mean, I know I'm harder on myself than anybody else is, no question. But there's a balance to that. That can get into you can be in a very sick relationship with yourself. And it's worse than being with an abusive partner if you're abusing yourself, because you can't get away from it, right? So some of these, that's what I love about reading books like this, because it's the unexpected things that come up, from it that are the gift. It's not always what the book says or whether I like the author, but because we get together here and we discuss stuff, it's the things that come up in the discussion around the book more than the book itself. And I guess that's why we're still here after 4 years, even though, we don't have a huge following. And I think all of us are totally fine with that. Like we've had this conversation. If we don't fix anybody else but ourselves, that's something. Because we all know that, everything that we change about ourselves ripples out to the rest of the world, right? So even if there's 4 or 6 of us, of course, we do have people that watch the replays, and some people just don't want to get on here with a bunch of crazy people, and that's all right. We understand. Sandy, is this book going to change? Well, you've already said it did. Like, it reminded you to do your gratitude. So it has made an impact. It has changed the way that you're doing things. I kind of come and go with that, I'll be honest. Like, I'll be really good about writing it down for a few days, and then I'm like, I don't write it down. Although I'm always, I get up an hour before I have to be at work, so to speak, and I do my yoga, and I do a lot of gratitude and intercessory prayer during, my yoga and stuff. And I know you practice that as well. So I think I express gratitude all day, every day, whether I write it down or not. But
yeah, what was I going to say? So many ideas popping in my head. Yeah, it's not something that is stuck every day. It's something that I do if I have the time, like, because I do so much in my day. So if I'm getting up for Kundalini at 3 a.m., I'm not doing my gratitudes right then. So, and I've been started taking these Kabbalah classes a few months ago. So there's exercises with that I do, um, and so I mean, I'm always doing something that's helping me, or helping me look at myself and get better. And whether it's the gratitude or whatever, it's just something that's become such an important part of my life that it's just automatic for me to be doing something for myself. But like you, yeah, I can get into this place where I beat myself up. When I was setting my New Year's intentions, I was in a meditation with some friends overnight, and I realized really how hard I am on myself. And I was like, no, I'm not going into the new year like this. Like, I'm really going to honor myself and thank myself for everything that I do. Cause I'm like, well, I do so much, and I'm sitting here beating myself up if I miss a day of exercise or something. Like, oh, it's the end of the world, like, Sandy, get it together. And people look at me and they're like, you do so much and you get it all done, and you just keep going. How can you beat yourself up? You're amazing. And I'm like, oh yeah. So, and it was like I really looked at my inner child. Like, I always hear, buzz about inner child, and I didn't know if I really believed in like talking to your inner child or nurturing that. But that night, when I realized how much I was beating myself up, I went into my inner child in a way that I never experienced before. And I was like, talking to her and nurturing, like, it came from this child that felt like I needed to prove myself, or I needed, in my mother's eyes, to be perfect. So it's always, I guess it, like, I look at myself through my mother's eyes in a way, like, well, I'm judging this, I'm judging that, this needs to change, or you didn't do this, and it's a constant thing running in there. And wow, when I realized how really rampant that was, I'm like, no. So yeah, the new year, I've been really taking time to nurture myself instead and appreciate myself and all the things that I do. So that was a good point. And yeah, the accountability thing, I'm never into accountability partners either. I got so many people say, oh yeah, you need to get accountability. And I'm always like, no. Because I'm definitely good at being accountable for myself. I do have good self-discipline, and I think a person like that is fine. Maybe someone who, I know there's a lot of people where it's difficult to stick to something and have that discipline, and maybe that type of person needs an accountability partner. But when I say I'm going to do something, I do. Actually, a friend had sent me a Kundalini mantra this week that you're supposed to do every day for 11 days. And at first I'm like, oh, I don't have time for that. But immediately I'm like, you know what, this is going to be good for me. She had some really good transformation out of it. So I'm like, that's going to be good for me. So it's like in that day I started, and I've been doing it every day. So if something resonates with me, like, I don't have a problem, like, disciplining and doing it right away. Nobody needs to call me and remind me. So, yeah, I guess that depends on the person, whether you need an accountability, I think. Yeah, that's it for now.
Am I off? I guess I'm on. Um, as Catherine was talking about, if I wanted an accountability partner, I'd be married and all that kind of stuff, and about living with yourself, and you can't get away with yourself, and you can have a really shitty relationship with yourself, and it can really create problems and stuff. I was thinking, and then Sandy, adds so much good stuff, and she really does get so much accomplished. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you, Sandy, but I became aware of you a long time ago, and sorry, this isn't supposed to happen when you're manic. Maybe I'm depressed. Not depressed about you, but just because it teared me up a little bit to think at how aware I've been of how much of the growth that you've experienced and how cool it's been to see. But one thing I was thinking about that I wanted to share with everybody, when I think this is such a cool setup. And if you're thinking about setting up a mastermind, I would highly recommend that you think about doing it about like this. get on Zoom, because I think you can at least have 50 different pictures on Zoom. I don't know how any of us my age would be able to see the different little people if you had 50 people on my screen. But anyway, that would be kind of fun. You know, if you could see everybody, and even if you had a big group. And so even just with us now, you know, Carmen and her phone, I don't even know what Carmen looks like. And the three of us, we can see that and then get it put on YouTube. And what I like about YouTube, and I just really need to get our Think and Grow Rich mastermind on YouTube too, because I rely on transcription so much. And I swear to you, when this comes out, I'm going to find time somewhere to go to the transcription and take the last two sets of remarks of Catherine and Sandy and set them out and stick them up somewhere where I can refer to them, because it's so good. And if you think, well, I don't know how to do that, and you know, YouTube screwed with it again today, or I don't know, maybe my internet messed up my computer, or I don't know what it is, or maybe I was just on with somebody who doesn't believe in doing anything extra, like putting up a report or a transcription, and I forget what the third thing is. But if you're on YouTube, you're looking at a video and you look at all the stuff where it goes, you know, how many people are clapping and how many people are sticking a thumbs down and how many, you know, whatever. You eventually get over to the more thing. In the more thing, you have the three things: the report, the transcription, and whatever, I can't remember. If you click on transcription and you wait a minute, because it sometimes takes a minute, either to the bottom of the video or to, at least with my computers, to the right of the video, you will see the transcription. And what I usually do, because I usually only really think about that when I hear something I really dig on, I will stop the video, I will go over there, I will scroll down to the bottom of the transcription. I will copy it all the way up. That's the fastest way I've learned to do it. Copy it all up. I will stick it on. If you are on Windows, they have something that I hadn't known for most of the time it's been there. It's called Windows Writer. And that's the fastest way I have found. I don't like to always have at 3 minutes and 4 seconds, we've got 3 words. At 3 minutes and 6 seconds, we've got 2 words. At 3 minutes and 8 seconds, we've got, you know, I like to cut out all those minutes and just have 1 minute. I mean, I like to cut out the seconds and I just have 1 minute so that I can kind of focus back in if I need to go find it on the video. And then I like to highlight, you know, do bigger letters, you know, like shouting at myself, you know, whatever I need to do so that I notice what it is that I thought was so important and so valuable to me that I would take the time to do that. But I have burned out, I can't tell you how many computers, because I'm such a damned hoarder, you know, and the hoarding is, you know, trying to get down everything on the planet that I think is good. And it turns out that's a lot of stuff.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm glad that our craziness helps people, like all of us, like things that you say, Karen, and things that Sandy says, and Samantha, and Dan, and everybody, like Chris, everybody, and Carmen. You know, we learn from each other, and it's different for everybody. You know, one of the things I like about this book, although it suggests certain steps, I think its overall message is just take some steps every day. You know, do it, whatever floats your boat. You know, like he says earlier in the book, in some of the, I think he refers back to his friend who makes 50,000 a year or something, and but gets to spend a lot of time with his kids, and he's fine with that, and that's great, and that is great. Like, that's awesome. I think more people need to spend time with their kids. Although I will say not everybody is cut out to be a parent. Like God thinks so, or obviously, or right. Or they wouldn't have these kids. But like there are just mean and hateful parents out there. And not everybody should homeschool, and not everybody, because it takes a lot of patience to, like, you could not pay me enough to be a teacher, even though I teach all day. But, I mean, like in a school setting, I actually did some teaching on the college level, and even that I didn't like, it was, yeah. So the point is, you can't tell somebody else. Well, some people try to tell somebody else exactly what they need to do. But things are different for each of us. We have different personality colors. Like Sandy and I, we're both blue personalities, so we tend to jive on a lot of things, like we're like, we don't want no accountability partner. We got our own accountability partner right up here, but like a green personality is one of the personality colors that does much better. In fact, like in a networking sort of business situation, these are the people that, they are really good at developing plans. My son is a green. He's really good at developing plans, and he will go to great lengths to develop this plan, but he never gets the plan implemented. Like he never starts the plan, or he starts the plan and the first thing, because we all know the minute you start a plan, something's going to go a different way than what you expected. I won't say that it's wrong, because I don't think anything is wrong anymore, because I always see how it turns up right in the end. But, when things change, then he's back to, I have to make a new plan. So you never get off step one, because you just step one, shit changes, then you're back to the plan. So some color personalities do much better with accountability partners than others. And I think some personality colors just do better with personal relationships than others. And then there's different times in our lives, there's seasons of our lives. If you're on Facebook, people are always hitting on you, and I'll be like, I'm happily single for a reason, although I have to say, oh my God, my angels, like, I think somebody's coming in for me. I don't even want them. Like, I don't understand. But I keep getting these cards, these signals, and saying romance is on the way. And I'm like, seriously, I got enough to deal with right now, you guys. But, that's just it. Like, we don't know all of the, we don't know what God has in store for us. We don't know there's so much that we don't know about what's going to happen in our day. We really don't know 1 minute from the next, right? Being a nurse, I mean, you can lose somebody in less than a minute. So there's so much that we don't know. I think that's what makes, I know you guys are saying, what in the hell is she talking about? But that's what makes these everyday actions so important, because you have to have something to count on, something to check back in with, something to keep consistency in a world that is not consistent at all. It reminds me of a time when my daughter was 16 and she disappeared. My son and I were trying to find her and cope with her being missing for a long time, and being told they thought she was dead, and all of this really heavy, like drive you to the point of insanity stuff. And one of the things I did, and I think it was probably one of the best things I ever did for my son, was at that time I put him in martial arts, because I realized that I was the pillar of strength, a single parent, so I was the pillar, but I was crumbling. Like I was on the floor in a fetal position crying. So I couldn't be there for him, and everything in his life had gone awry. And so I figured I needed to insert something that was predictable. He had to be there so many times a week. He had to be there for a certain number of time. And he had the, whatever they call him, the guru dude, the head dude, teacher, master, whatever, he then was his pillar. Like I gave him another pillar of strength because I couldn't be that pillar, right? So I think we all need these things that we can rely on. Faith, certainly. I don't have faith because of a book, of any religious book that's ever been written. That is not where my faith comes from. It comes from my personal experience with messages that I get, whether they're audible or something in my environment that I notice, or a book that flies off a shelf in front of me, or these spirits I've talked to, and out of body experiences, near death experiences, all of these things that I've personally experienced are what has given me the viewpoints and the beliefs that I have, and that's all I can work from, but it's not something that somebody told me, or it's not something that I read in a book. But having faith as one of your constants. I mean, because when you get knocked off your horse, like I did, and you're literally like helpless and completely dependent on other people, and you think your whole life is pretty much over, and you're going to be in a nursing home the rest of your life, and all these fears. When it comes down to that moment, like the only thing you have is faith that you're going to get to the next moment, whatever that faith is. But if you do, I think if you stay in integrity with yourself, and if you tell yourself you're going to do something, and you stay in integrity with yourself, and you hold yourself accountable, and you do those things, you develop a faith in yourself and a trust within yourself. And then you get like Sandy and I, were like, we don't really need that, because we have been in integrity with ourselves and accountable enough that we know we can depend on ourselves. And so if you, I was thinking, would I recommend this book to somebody? I think I would recommend this book. I wouldn't say it's a life-changing book for me, but it's a great reminder book. Just like you said, Sandy, it's a great reminder book of how important those simple steps are. Back in the war, I remember, excuse me, my grandmother, the woman took 2 hours to fix her hair and makeup to go to check the mail. Like, it was insane. But I understand it now in a way that I didn't understand it back then. Like, in that era, the ladies did get up and put their makeup on, and put their hose on, and put their girdle on, and put their this on, and put their that. Like, there were daily actions that you did every day. They were doing the slide edge, you guys. Way back then, before it was ever written, they were doing it because that was the only thing normal in their lives. Like, I get it.
Talking about understanding grandmothers, which you don't, I wonder how many of us ever understand our grandmothers when we have the opportunity, because usually that's just when we're children, or at least for people my age, grandparents didn't, last that long. It seems like. And I've brought up before, this picture I have in my head of my grandmother having this wooden shape. I remember it having a ball shape. It must have been, though, it must have had something more like the arch too. It must have been longer than that, because she obviously had to hold on to it. And she would pull the heel of a sock over it and spend literally the night darning that hole in that sock. And it would take that long. When you think about it, if you take a needle and a thread and you create a new heel for a sock, imagine how long that takes, because most of us haven't seen that, or I haven't seen it for so long I can't even really picture the work. I just know that it seemed crazy to me. It really did. I mean, even when I was a kid, which was really, really a long time ago, you could go to the store and you could buy socks. So why mend a hole in your sock? But my grandmother did that. My grandmother grew her own stuff in her garden. And yeah, we had grocery stores, people went to grocery stores and bought food. But she would go out, elderly, under 5 feet tall, and wrestle with, squash. Squash just runs all over the place. And then you have to step through all the vines and everything. And then you have to look for the parts that look like all the leaves. And I mean, she was out there every day, bent over. She'd make herself little bonnets to fit on her head so that she wouldn't have sunstroke. She probably didn't know that was why she did that. She just didn't want to have a hot head. But I mean, really, we adapt ourselves, and it is those little things. And then we hold on to those little things. And often, to the end of our days, we're doing things that, we eventually, if we can hear our children, we realize that they're saying, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that anymore. And yet, because we have developed things that allow us to survive the events and circumstances of our lives, they're there for us. And even if you do let your children buy your socks and they hide your things so that you can't mend your socks anymore, you have memories, and you can go back and you can stick to the slide edge stuff that worked for you as you went through your life. And so maybe that would be my recommendation to a friend. I certainly know people who really appreciate this type of book. I think that's probably why I didn't vote for the David Schwartz book. I mean, I've had that book for 40, 50 years. But, I'm just not into the, this seems to me a step-by-step book. And then I think the thing that I got put off to a little bit is kind of, if you don't do this, then your nose isn't as clean as mine. So I apologize. I'm being extra sharp because I'm crazy, today. So anyway, thanks.
I'm thinking I would recommend this book to someone who maybe has like no idea about any kind of thing like this, or someone who's not disciplined, I guess, or, sort of lost in their life of what there's, how to make something happen in their life. Or maybe someone who hasn't, something where this kind of idea is totally new to them. So I think it would be helpful for that kind of person. But I really liked what you said before, Catherine, about having that faith and trust in yourself. I mean, because really that's all we have in the end is that. And when you do take these steps for yourself, you really learn how to have that faith and trust in yourself, that you can get through anything. And the more you use tools like this in your life, the more that faith builds, and you can just like amaze yourself sometimes, like, wow. And it feels really good when you have that faith and you see things come to manifest. So it's amazing, and I think that's an important point for people to really learn to have that. Yeah. That's it for now. I was trying to find some little notes from the last chapter here to speak about, but I don't even know what. It looks like he's talking about health check-in in my book, about health and weight loss and a health plan and financial check-in and financial tips. So I have to skim through it some more.
Well, we're almost at the top of the hour anyway. Yeah, I think this last chapter was just basically a reiteration of everything. The message of this book is a good message. Like I'm not sorry I read this book or anything. I probably won't read it again, although I can't say that for sure because, you know, I change. So, but I think the main message is repetition. I mean, even the book was very repetitious, I thought. But I think that's the message of it, you know, is to just realize that it's not, you're not going to go from A to B overnight unless you're just happen to, you know, get a big networker in your team. If you're in that kind of a business or something, you can have overnight success. But for most people, you know, it's just it's a matter of success followed by failure, followed by success, followed by failure. It's kind of like, you know, the stock markets go up and down. That's kind of how life is. It kind of just goes up and down. And as long as you can keep some constants in there, that's what helps you find balance. I have to remind myself to, because I'll get too focused on this over here, and I have to bring myself back into balance. If I don't do that, shit starts going wrong in my life. Like God will bring me back into balance if I don't. I think that's what I've learned is that, you know, I have, there's like this certain road that I need to walk. And if I veer too far off, you know, a little bit off, I'm okay. Too far off, I get whacked. So as we go into this new book, it'll be, I think, fun and exciting to hear. Like I'm sort of excited about that it's not all just one person's opinion, the whole book. Like, well, because I'm sure like some of the people will totally agree with and some of them we won't, you know, but I think it's going to give us more of a variety of things to talk about. Although, you know, there are just basic underlying principles that, like this one, like this book points out, just the daily simple steps. Don't make it too hard. But don't give yourself the out, you know, set up those steps. Don't give yourself the out. Like I was doing 1 plank a day, and then I got up to 2 planks a day, and then I was adding some push-ups, and then I injured my wrist. And so I've been, you know, using trauma oil on it and trying to do things so that I can get my wrist back. But when I do the planks on my elbows, it's hurting my lower back too much. So I was doing it this way. Now I can't do it that way because of the wrist. So I've been trying to you know, alter the way I do it so that I'm not hurting the wrist, but I can still do it, or doing something in place of it. So even if I'm not doing, you know, the thing that I set the goal for, I'm doing something in place of it. I think if you just hold yourself to some sort of an accountability, and keep plodding on, because you never know. People think when they get into business for themselves, you know, that, I mean, most of us are used to, we work for somebody else. We're used to having that weekly paycheck or whatever. And so when people get into business for themselves, they when that isn't there for a few times, it gets really scary, and you want to jump back into something safer. And I think if everybody just knew, hey, it is probably, it probably takes most people 2 or 3 years to kind of really start seeing a lot of results on social media and some of these different ways that we market. It takes about 2 or 3 years of consistency, being the key word there, consistency of posting and interacting with people, and not only just posting your own stuff, but going to other people's pages and liking their stuff and commenting on their stuff. Don't just think that you just post and everybody's just supposed to come, worship you. Like, you gotta go out there and comment on other people's stuff and interact with people and seek out new relationships and friendships. And but as long as you keep that ball rolling, you'll start to see, after about, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years, from most of the people that I've talked to and worked with, all of a sudden people start coming to them for whatever it is they're doing, if they have stayed in integrity and developed good relationships with people. So just keep going, don't give up. Now, having said that, companies come and go. Important to brand yourself more than your company. Sometimes, like, I'm in a corporate position, so I kind of have to brand my company more than I would if I wasn't in a corporate position. So, but brand yourself, stay consistent. One of the things this book points out is to do something in these different areas of your life. I'm not going to tell you what they are in this book and that you have to do them that way. I'm just going to say, maybe pick 3 things in your life where you'd like to see improvement, and then pick one thing that you're going to do every day to kind of move you forward in that, for whatever that is. And then just do that. You keep doing it, and you'll see results. But it takes time, and don't beat yourself up. And sometimes people will try something for 2 days. If it doesn't work, then they think they have to try something else. That can lead to inconsistency, or what people see as inconsistency, like it's too erratic. Like, just try one technique and stay the course for a while, and let that work. Because, people think, oh, well, I made a Facebook post, and well, those Facebook posts don't even get seen by 3/4 of your friends, probably more than that. Probably 90% of your friends don't even see the Facebook post, much less anybody else. And if it's not posted at just the right time, and there's all these factors that come in. So that's, I know people that send out like 200 invites for a presentation, an online presentation, sort of like this. They'll send out 200 invites before every one. They may or may not have a person show up on that thing, but they do that consistently. And you know what? Overall, those people are very, very successful because they just keep doing it. Now, to me, sending out 200 invites, just like, what? But, even if I just send out 2, right? It doesn't have to be 200. It just has to be 1 or 2 or 5 or 10, or, you can be realistic with it, but the point is the consistency of it. So just like we're here almost every week, we're not going to be here next week. We're going to take the week off, let everybody get their book. Let me get the title again. Something Oprah, The Wisdom of Sundays by Oprah Winfrey. Go buy that book. I'm pretty sure it's on Audible, or Christina would not have recommended it because she doesn't like to read. But so you can probably get it on Audible, pick it up on Kindle or whatever, and then meet us here, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. In the meantime, go to our Facebook Mindset Mastery Collective page and join us there, and get into the discussion a little bit. And of course, you're probably watching this replay on YouTube, so Samantha's always really good about putting links down below and all of that kind of stuff. Any parting wisdom here, Sandy or Karen?
I'd like to just really encourage people to join us. You know, we have no idea when you replay this, but wherever it is in your life, let's say you look at it and you say, oh, I'm going to get together with them in 2 weeks from now and get on that Oprah book. And you look down and somewhere, I don't know why they don't do this. I don't know why they don't just blast this across the page, but somewhere you find out that this was produced in 2011. And you say, oh, well, they probably are disbanded by now. They probably don't even exist. And then you find us and we're off doing, instead of business books, spirituality books, we're off doing Save the Planet books or whatever it is. I just say, hey, join us. You know, try us for a week or two, get on with us, open your port, you know, speak out, say some things, share, because this is a tremendous way to have a good weekend. It really is a great way to start your weekend. And we all end up loving each other. And, you know, fortunately, we're all opposite ends of the country, or we wouldn't have time to do anything but hugs and smooches and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, join us.
I was just going to say I had some thoughts from what you had last said, Catherine. It's like you build that momentum and it just, it may start out slow and you don't see results, but then over time it's just like, boom, like you realize like, wow, okay, there it is, you know? So, but yeah, it takes time and that consistency. And if you're wishy-washy, people pick up on that and see that if it's not consistent. And you know, now I use Facebook mostly. I don't post nearly as much as I used to when I was doing online marketing, but you know, I do more for my acupuncture practice. I post a lot on Instagram and my Facebook business page and sometimes my personal wall. But I posted something this week on Instagram, like a motivational quote or something, and some girl that I don't even know who she is, she's like, I miss your videos on Facebook, like your uplifting, inspiring videos. And I'm like, wow, you know, like somebody that I have no idea who she is, like remembered that I did these things. And so it's sort of, I was like, you know what, because I've been thinking maybe to start doing something like that again and putting some coaching in my practice and stuff. So, you know, it's just, that was from all that work that I put in, all that consistency, like people still remember. And that was maybe, 2 years ago that I was doing all that. So it works, just really being consistent. And you know, it's a roller coaster because someday you can be like, this isn't working, I quit, you know, and I go through that. We all go through that. Like you're just like bombed and like this doesn't work. And then, but just go. And you'll start to see the momentum just catches on and it's like, whoo, it goes faster once it catches on. And one day you'll just be like, wow. So yeah, to that discipline, that consistency, persistence, all these buzzwords we hear and they self-improvement stuff all the time. So it's true. Good to chat with you ladies today. And I'm really looking forward to the next book. I think it'll be a different vibe to the mastermind that we haven't had in a while. So I'm excited about that one and looking forward to see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Yay. Thank you so much. And yeah, absolutely. Just keep going because people are watching. Like you might make a post and you might get no likes, no shares. Like you can't even tell that anybody has ever seen it, but somebody out there and probably many people out there are watching you. And you'll see that after about that 2 to 3 year mark when they start reaching out to you, or like in what Sandy just pointed out, maybe, you know, you change something you do and somebody reaches out to you, hey, I missed that. So how rewarding is that, you know, that you made that difference in somebody's life. And if you had just, you know, given up, because it got hard, or like you just don't know the people that you're touching with what you're doing, regardless of what it is. You just don't know. You don't know what little ripple in the matrix that set off that's going to bring forth this other thing that's going to happen 18 months from now that you don't even know about, right? But if you don't do that one little step today, that shit doesn't happen. I don't understand it. Like, I'm really more interested, more than this book, I'm really more interested in figuring out why is that? You know, how does this whole life thing work? That we have to do something today that sets something into motion 18 months from now. Like, I'd really like to figure that out. I don't understand it, but I know from experience that that's true. I know that when I do my, I have like this fake money system that I do where I write myself checks and all this stuff. And I know when I do that, I have more money that comes in, and I don't understand it. And I don't understand why I don't keep doing it. Mostly, if it works, why don't I keep doing it? Like, it's really crazy. So anyway, it's been lovely talking to you ladies today. Again, our love goes out to Samantha's family, and those things, those tragedies are difficult to, you know, it's hard. Life is hard. Being human is hard sometimes. So send lots of love that way. And we'll see you all, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. Look for the announcements on the Facebook page, and hopefully I get it out to Google and Twitter and all that. Although I didn't today, sorry. All right, guys, go get your new book. Love you. We'll see you next time.